Have you seen those girls online on Instagram, on fashion weeks, or just in the media world who look perfectly put together in their layering looks? Have you also tried to do those layering looks? Because I did, and this is how I usually look. Yeah, it's always very simple, something that doesn't very look perfect together, and sometimes it's not even that comfortable. But when I see all those girls, I always wonder, do they have any tips and tricks about that? Do they use any principles, or it's just something that they have been born with? So I decided to give myself a chance and figure out how they actually do the perfect layering. My name is Anya, I do styling videos in here, and I'm in the middle of finding my own personal style. So today I invite you to learn with me how to do the perfect layering that you will be very pleased to show your friends online and even wear out. Let me give you a moment to hit that subscribe button and give me a supportive like, and because I know that this video will be massive, I think we shouldn't postpone the start of this video. So if you have no idea what to do with a certain problem, you obviously go searching, and I started to firstly figure out what are the real principles and rules of layering and how to make layering as easy as possible when you will actually understand what works with what. Because sometimes we have a lot of the things that might be good for layering, but they don't work with all the other things that we have. So today we're gonna try and make a real guide how to make layering easy and seamless as all those girls in the media world. Let's start with principle number one, and that is length layering. I don't know if you remember, but back in the day, maybe like 10 years ago, when layering was like firstly so on trend, I remember that everyone said that you should layer pieces with different length. And I remember how we were wearing like a lot of like tank tops with shirts, button downs peeking through the sweater, cropped with longer, and a little bit shorter with a little bit longer. But what I know now is that on top of that, you can also wear cropped things on top of crop things and long things on top of long things. There's actually tip number one. If you want to make your layering a little bit more complex, you can layer more than 2 rules and more than 2 principles in one of the looks. So let's talk about all the other tips of layering, and then I'm gonna give you an example how you can combine length layering with all of the other ones. So the second one that we probably know about is a volume layering, also known as the balance of silhouettes. Something skin tight and something oversized. Something that is your size with something from your boyfriend's shoulder, or maybe just something that you bought specifically 1 or 2 sizes bigger. I think it still looks cute, especially because it makes your look a little bit more put together and not as messy as it can be. Because for example, if you wear a voluminous like oversized t-shirt with a blazer on top, which is also pretty big, it kind of looks like everything is not your size. And if we talk about combining length layering with volume layering, think about a bodycon maxi dress with an oversized maxi coat or something like that, or think about a cropped sweater or a cropped tank top with a cropped jacket on top, which also looks very cool, which for me does a great combination of different principles of layering combined into one look, which makes it even more perfect because it's not just one principle, it's 2, which literally exaggerates your knowledge of layering. On top of that, why I love volume layering is because it's perfect for spring, fall, and even winter, because something that is skin tight you put underneath, and as you layer something bigger in size or something chunkier, you can actually create a multi-layered look which will keep you warm. And you can also correct a little bit the temperature of your body. You can just take off the sweater and put it around your neck to create a little scarf situation, but at the same time your body will not be overheated, so keep that in mind for any colder weather. Another thing is the texture layering. This is something that for me is a little bit more complicated. It's something that sometimes I cannot still use in my looks, because I kind of feel like sometimes you can overdo with the texture layering. But what does it mean just as a base of it? It's basically when you combine smooth fabrics with something chunkier, with something that does have a heavier looking texture. So for example, like a cotton, silk, something that is like shiny, very flat looking, with something chunkier like wool, linen, knitted things, and something like that. And what is very amazing about this principle is that it makes your look automatically very dimensional and sometimes even more expensive, especially if you use like heavier materials like leather and wool, maybe some lace or denim. It does give you some weight to your look. It kind of looks like you actually put a lot of effort into understanding the materials and choosing the best ones. But as I said, it sometimes can be a little bit harder to incorporate into your looks because it's definitely something that you need to know what works with what. My favorite combinations, I would say, is denim with leather, satin with wool in blazers, for example, and I would even say linen with denim. I feel like sometimes even a little bit of texture makes a lot of sense. With some examples, it will be a little bit easier for you. The rule that I feel like the easiest one to understand is the color layering, because there's just 3 ways that you can combine colors. It's either the monochromatic look, where you use either just one shade of one color in your look, or when you use the different shades of one color, which doesn't go too far away from each other. The second one, I would say, is when you use predominantly natural shades and then you put on the accent, something more bright and vibrant. And the third one is obviously the color wheel layering, I would say, is when you use either complementary colors but pretty different ones, or when you use contrasting shades, which basically is a color blocking, which for beginners is obviously pretty hard to do, but it's definitely something that you can learn over time if you actually use different colors in your wardrobe. The fifth one is something that is pretty on trend right now, is the see-through and transparent things. Something that is very cool right now, but I don't think that we always use this layering tip because not always we have see-through and transparent things on trend. So right now I think it's a good one. I do have a few things that I love to wear in this way, but it's basically when you have a layer of clothes that is very lightweight. There's either almost see-through or completely see-through. Maybe something lacy, or it might be something that is done from a see-through material, but other than that, this is basically something that does give you a layer without blocking everything that you have in the base layer. And we have 2 other principles that I've discovered. The first one, the layering of accessories. Sometimes we forget to pay enough attention to accessories, but layering accessories, especially something like belts or massive necklaces or just a bunch of different ones like hats and gloves and different types of bags, can actually make our looks a lot more complex and a lot more dimensional as well. And I think that we forgot about this because a lot of the times we've seen a lot of like minimalist trends, clean girls vibes. Even if you wear the simplest look ever, if you have something interesting that the eye catches in your look, that's definitely something that can be called layering. And the last one will be the unusual layering that we love right now so much. It's actually all types of like skirts on top of pants, corsets on shirts, and anything that shouldn't be worn at all. This is something that is very like creative, something that not all the people probably will use, but that's definitely something that you should keep in mind, because if you try and experiment, most of the times you will just know what you like and what you don't. What I know about myself, I love a little like dress on top of a skirt that creates this like underskirt effect, and I also love sheer longer tops with some pants as well, or some jeans that you might have seen in my videos before. So I think every now and then this is something that we can also use. Now, as we know a little bit more about the theoretical part, let's go into the practical part, because I also want to practice what I know now about layering, and I definitely want to see what are more of the interesting principles I can use in my looks, because as I said, my looks in layering are pretty simple. So today we're gonna try and make it as put together but also as interesting as possible. So if you're interested, let's see what I can come up with. In the first outfit, I'm using my sheer top that used to be the dress, but you can actually watch me how I was transforming it. I decided to wear it over a white tank top and my favorite skirt combo to create a white dress effect underneath. I added a silver choker, a pair of mules, and a micro bag to keep it feminine. I love that you can see the layer inside, but also add color and texture. And I also love how the skirt peeks out from under this asymmetrical hem, which elongates the silhouette. For my second look, I want to repeat the idea of a cropped blazer and a crop top, so I took my 2-in-1 top that has a vest, and I will play on the length of the vest and the blazer. I combined it with my favorite denim skirt and the same mules and a soft bag. I love my chains lately, so I decided to add this chunky one. And finally, my third look is going to be as simple as possible because sometimes I don't want to overcomplicate things. I'm going to play with this white and gray color scheme, and to start, I really love this trend with 2 t-shirts where one is sticking out from under the other, so that will be our base. I'm also going to add 2 bags instead of 1, so I'm going to tie my micro bag on my belt for a belt bag effect. Then I added my forgotten white shirt, but I really love how it's not too oversized, and of course, my favorite jacket. Whew, I hope that you now realize that it's not actually that hard to do layering on your own. It's just something that you need to practice in front of a mirror and see different things that work together in your wardrobe. Tell me in the comments down below, what was your favorite look? Do you love layering in general, or do you prefer simpler outfits? I hope you enjoyed this video. Don't forget to put the supportive like underneath this video. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel if you want some more styling videos like that, and I hope to see you guys in my next one.